Dear brothers and sisters, as we have an opportunity once again to be together, this is the time to focus on what is happening in each and every one of our lives. The age that we live in is an age of change. This is an age of innovations. When we look back in the last quarter of a century, we find that many innovations have come in, and we all are enamored with something that is new. Whether it be a new gadget, whether it be a new way of communicating with others, whether it be a new way of studying, whether it be a new way of banking. Anything that is new is very intriguing to us. And then we try to get what is new. When we start to look back on the usage of what we got, many times we find that much of what we procure is just sitting there by itself. Those of us who have houses, we find that the attics and the basements and the closets are full of one thing or another that we thought was very, very important to get. And whether it was very difficult for us to get, whether we had to stand in line to get it, whether we had to pay a lot of money to get something, we got it because at that time it felt it was very important. But all of these dreams of yesterday are sitting in the attics and the basements and the closets because these are all faded away as the tomorrows are coming. And so one needs to understand how to make the best use of what we have in this very lifetime. If we are always enamored by getting new things and don't use what we have to its fullest and then change that with something else, then we'll never be able to get to a state where we totally benefit from what we have achieved. And we as human beings have achieved a lot. But are we making good use of what we've achieved? I'd like to relate an interesting story about a stag. This stag was living in a jungle and would roam all around the jungle. He wanted to explore different areas, and so he'll go to one area or go to another area, and he wanted to find new areas to explore. One day, as it was going from one area to another, it got very thirsty. Luckily, the stag found a pond nearby. It went to the pond and started to drink. As the thirst was quenched, it raised its head and looked at its reflection in the pond. He was very happy to see his antlers. His antlers looked beautiful to him. They looked like a big crown on his head, and he got a big smile on his face. And all of a sudden, his eyes went to his legs, and he saw that his legs were very skinny, and he saw that the legs looked kind of a little crooked. And he started to think to himself, boy, God made me so beautiful, gave me such a nice crown. I don't know why I was given legs which don't look good. We have great treasures which have been bestowed on us, but we don't use them. God, the Creator, when He gave us this human existence, gave us ways and means by which we are able to connect with the Creator. The treasures of divinity are given to each and every one of us. And they are all within us. We've been given the characteristic, which in the East is called Vivek, which means that we can discriminate between the truth and untruth, between what is right and what is not right. And that faculty has been given to each and every one of us. We all have been given the means by which we can experience the true reality of ourselves. But we still live in a world of illusion. We think of ourselves as the human body. We think of ourselves as being different than everyone else. We think of ourselves as being greater than everyone else. And so, saints and mystics have always exhorted us to use what has been given to us through this existence, not only to live at the level of our physical senses, but know that there's much more to our existence than what we perceive through our eyes or our ears or through our other senses. That God has given each and every one of us the mechanism to solve the mysteries of life and death, to experience ourselves as we truly are, to realize that we're not the body, we're not the mind, we're not our brains, that in reality we're soul. And that soul is a part of the Creator. Saints and mystics over the ages have been talking about their experiences of God. They all talk about having an experience with God when they were in silence, when they had quietened themselves, when they were in a state where their attention was not in this physical world, and it was then that they had the revelations of the divine. That process of silencing our body and our mind is called meditation. So it's the techniques of meditation that we all can learn so that we are able to rise above physical body consciousness, so that we are able to experience vistas after vistas of divine light and divine sound, which are existing within each and every one of us. And as we experience these divine vistas, then the clarity of who we are, the clarity of what our relationship is with the Creator starts to set in. We all think, as we live in this world, there's the brains or the intellect that makes us gain the knowledge of this world. So this is why we go to schools and colleges and we learn. But what are we learning? We're learning about this physical world. And so our brain and our intellect becomes more knowledgeable about this world. But there's a difference between knowledge and wisdom. The question is, are we becoming wiser? And wisdom is when we are experiencing the realities of our existence. Sant Rajinder Singh Maharaj, who wrote much about the spiritual way, who wrote much about our life, who wrote much about our relationship with the Creator, he talks about what true existence is like. What is the state in which we are going to be experiencing God? And he's telling us through this verse that it's not the intellect which is going to make us experience the realities of our existence, because all the knowledge of the intellect is just of this physical world. And he says, through this verse, he says, Kare talashe junu, zulmate kirat se kaho. Junu kiran hai, kiran ke siwa kuch aur nahi. He says that through the intellect, we are searching. And what are we searching? We are searching for a state of bliss which is perpetual. Because we are searching for a relationship with God. We want to be with God. And those who have searched that relationship, those who have found God, they are happy, they are in a state of bliss eternally. He says, we are searching for that. As a human being, we are searching. He says, this search we are doing through our intellect. And he's calling it, he says, tell this darkness of the intellect. The reason he's calling it darkness comes in the next line. He said, tell the darkness of the intellect, which is looking for this state of bliss, this state of joy, this state of having a soul merged with God. That state of merger with God is a state of being enlightened, a state where there's light, a state which is not focused in the physical world, because everything here is what is considered to be darkness, because it's taking us away from God. And so he's telling us that if we want to attain that state which is perpetually keeping us in a state of bliss, a state in which our soul is one with God, then we need to understand that that's the state of being enlightened, that's the state of being lit up. And that state cannot be experienced through the intellect. So how is that state experienced? By rising above physical body consciousness, by practicing the techniques of meditation regularly on a daily basis, by connecting with the divine power of light and sound of God, which are the two primal manifestations of God, which are impregnated within each and every one of us. Is the divine power of the Creator that brought all creation into being. And that is in each and every one of us. And so we can invert. We can take our attention away from the world outside. We can focus it within ourselves. The great treasure is within ourselves. Let us not just keep it there and keep it hidden, look at it once in a while and forget about it. Let's make use of it. And making use of it is to unravel the mysteries of life and death, which are within each and every one of us. Is to be able to commune with the Creator, is to be able to have a soul rise beyond the physical and the astral and the causal and the supracausal regions to get to the region of all truth, the region of all consciousness, and to be able to have our soul experience its direct relationship with God. We all can do that. God has given each and every one of us the faculties which are required by us to know God. So whether we live in one part of the world or another part of the world, whether we follow one faith or another, whether we wear one kind of clothes or another kind of clothes, whether we speak one language or another language, whether we belong to one culture or another culture, it doesn't matter. Each and every human being has an opportunity to know God, because all the divine treasures are within each and every one of us. So those who make use of them are the ones who are successful. They are the ones who are wise. And others might gain knowledge after knowledge of this world and would be bereft of all the divine treasures which the Creator has given us. Let us realize that this life is not long. To many, 60, 80, 100 years might seem like a long time. But that's a very short time when we consider how long our soul might have been away from the Creator. Let us make good use of this opportunity. Let us sit in silence. Let us still the body. Let us still the mind. And as the body is stilled and the mind is stilled, then right in front of us we'll start to experience revelations of the divine. So let us all sit to meditate for a few minutes. Please sit as comfortably as you can. Close your eyes very gently, just like you close them when you go to sleep. Your eyeballs should be straight, focus 8 or 10 inches in front of you. As you close your eyes, those of you who have been initiated in the mysteries of the beyond, please do your Simran. And those of you who are new here, please repeat any name of God or a calming word mentally, not out loud. If you do it out loud, your ears would hear it and you would be distracted. So do a mental repetition of the name, and as your mind is occupied in repeating God's name, right in front of you, with time, light will sprout forth. It could be flashes of light, circles of light, lights of various colors. Just keep your gaze in the middle, and with time, to you will seem as if the lights are stabilizing, and many, many other vistas will open up for you. I pray to God Almighty and to the three great spiritual masters of the past century, Hazur Baba Savan Singh Ji Maharaj, Param Sant Kripal Singh Ji Maharaj, and the gracious spiritual master, Sant Darshan Singh Ji Maharaj, to help each and every one of us here connect with the divine power within and to experience the divine light in its effulgence. We'll be sitting for a few minutes. I'll be getting you out of this meditative state, and my best wishes are with each and every one of you. प्लीज लीव ऑफ, छोड़ दीजिए जी।